So the Vanguard was this cute little cabaret theatre in Newtown.
Like an institution of Newtown. Really gorgeous kind of speakeasy vibe.
Own little theatre, own little stage, curtains.
The show was much more like a variety show, like the Muppet Show basically.
So the original version of this show was a lot smaller.
You had this tiny little stage and a lot of chaos behind there.
It was so chaotic each night you wouldn't know exactly what would happen when those curtains would open.
It was a beautiful place to perform because you were right in the audience basically.
And they were right up there, like, I mean, they're having their dinner and they were having the sand and the sweat and the lube and whatever else was in the show dripped onto their plates practically.
I would love to say that I was in the very first show, but that's not true. I was in the very second show. It's important to add I didn't have my own dressing room.
We sort of made the show from everything that we could find. I had a guitar made from a Millennium Falcon.
Costumes ourselves and kind of putting our own little touches into it. High-end C-3PO mask.
I remember just kind of frantically being upstairs in the dressing room and making costumes just before going on stage.
For a long time, the Empire Strikes Back, I didn't have a costume. I did have some pajamas of my own that I wore.
We had the Wookiee Hunters, which were a group of women who hunted down Wookiees. And so we had a bunch of Wookiee heads that we'd kind of fashioned as headdresses. And I think it was Anthony was the Wookiee at the time, kind of tied up in the center of the stage while we performed a hunting ritual around him.
Chewbacca was made just from wigs, was just this hideous blob of feral wigs.
And I used to get changed into my outfit in the hallway. Then I graduated to being able to get changed in the office.
Oh, you should do the fan dance. We picked up a electric fan and started dancing with it. And I was like, I will never be doing that routine. So that was Han Solo's first routine, was an electric fan dance.
He gave me this helmet, this incredible replica, and it was incredibly phallic. Like, the only colours in my show were like the black set and then this red glossy shiny like schlong head that was me, and with the outline of like my buttocks and then my back and then the head, I just looked like a human wang basically.
Which would be great. Getting changed in the office is not such a bad idea. It's just that everyone was in the office while I was getting changed. Yeah, just don't know why they were there. Just kicking back. I'd be on my undies. Very interesting.
Yeah, we'd come off stage and had to walk up through the corridor up the stairs, and the staircase just to the side was a poor little Twi'lek in a tub that they'd fill up with water from the kitchen, sitting there shivering, trying to wash the blue paint off herself.
I actually made the original Jabba the Hutt. He was a lot smaller than the one we have now, made out of hose pipe and foam in the backyard basically.
Was actually inside Jabba, was controlling him from the inside, just kind of like a puppet and moving around, while Lisa was Slave Leia, and on the inside was just like a horror show, but from the outside it looked really great. It was just kind of being in there and before the curtain coming up, just being like, oh my God, this is our job.
They had like thigh-high 12-inch stilettos on, like they were incredibly high and really, really scary. And the Tusken Raider costume, as I said, like I was completely constricted, and it was a really, really scary thing to be walking around. And you know, you'd be waddling like this and you'd be just scared for your life, and it'd be like 3, 2, 1, go, be sexy. And the transformation would be like very, very internal.
The first time we had helmets, we didn't realize until we were actually on stage with the lights that we couldn't see through them. So we're there in these, you know, high heels, only being able to kind of see down from the helmet. You're just kind of watching the edge of the stage and just hoping that the other stormtroopers weren't colliding into each other. But yeah, it's really fun.
So once we got into the big stages, we realised how tiny our props were and that we really needed a rebuild. So Russell gathered up all the props and took them to the tip.
Anyway, moving on.
I got this strange email through Star Now, and I didn't really take the email seriously. It was, Russell looking for a Princess Leia.
A good friend of mine name dropped me to Russell.
From my friend. And she's like, yeah, there's this guy called Russell.
I got involved with the show via my friend Kira Peru. She had worked with Russell.
I first started working at the Vanguard as a bartender. From there I sort of met Russell.
I know Russell found James on the old internet.
He just hit me up and was like, hi, come on tour. I was like, who are you?
So I kind of ignored it for a couple of days and then I checked it out. I found out that it was real and I was like, you know what, that's pretty cool.
And then there was a casting and I was like, oh, I don't know about Star Wars, but I went to the casting anyway, and that's how I got into the show.
They'd already done 1 or 2 tours before I joined in, with Russell being the Wookiee on stilts.
I know a lot of people have gotten into the show in different ways, but I went the most boring, normal way. I just auditioned for them.
I still love Star Wars, so when I saw there was a Star Wars burlesque, I went and saw that. And then afterwards I got a photo with the Han of the time. A half year after that, I ended up joining the team.
A friend of mine that lives in town used to do yoga before me.
I was cast basically to match another performer.
And he didn't want to do it anymore and needed a fill-in, so I was just supposed to be the fill-in.
Then when I joined, that was the kind of reinvention of the show in its largest form.
But it stuck.
Been a groupie for about 2 years through Nevin, because he was in the show before me.
The first tour I didn't do was the first tour Cass did do.
Yeah, fun story.
About as much as Drew.
It is well known as the cast and crew that I'm a super fan.
When I was a kid, I was so into Star Wars.
I saw the very first film in the 70s with my aunt and I was really excited to see it.
I even had that White Princess Leia outfit as a child that I remember wearing it to school once.
Oh look, I'd watch Star Wars.
They made sure that we learn, like, sorry, you have no choice, like.
And since then I've seen all the films, I've even read some of the books. This was the most exciting thing for me to do.
I had watched them all and I do really love the films, but I didn't have as much background knowledge as I do now about the intricacies of everything.
Only as much as a regular kid from the 80s would have known.
So Star Wars has a great kind of nostalgic feeling for me. I basically watched the original trilogy on repeat when I was a child.
I have a partner who's like a massive Star Wars nerd. We got together after I started the show though.
I, as a kid would play all the characters in the backyard. I loved it.
He was just like, you do what? That's I can't believe it. He'd like hit jackpot.
Before performing in the show, I knew everything I think that one should need to know about the Star Wars universe.
And I did also make a really great Millennium Falcon out of a bit of a brick.
We used to watch all the original DVDs growing up, and we watched like the Clone Wars cartoons and all of it. So yeah, I knew a lot.
Tried to create a Death Star out of a basketball. The dog put a tooth through that basketball, and so that had the dint for a while, but then it was just flat. So it was post-destruction.
In fact, when Russell Beatty asked me to be in the show, I jumped at the idea. I was like, can I be a Twi'lek?
I probably am more now than I was before.
I definitely have to know a lot about it now though.
Yeah, totally obsessed. So this has just been an incredible opportunity. Super fan. Okay.
There is no other show like this.
No, definitely not. It's one of a kind, that's for sure.
No, I'd never done anything that kind of pulled in that size audience.
Never worked with a show like this. And, I've never done burlesque before, so I was a bit, not hesitant, but it was like uncharted territory.
It is very different because the production value is insanely high. And that's what was really amazing, being part of this show and the attention to detail.
And nothing with the scale of production that this show has.
I've never worked on a show like this ever before in my career or my life. As a dancer, as an actor, never.
It's awesome, I'm so proud to be part of a show like this.
Well, no, I haven't really. I would MC variety nights.
This was my first ever burlesque parody rock and roll theatre show full of everything Star Wars show. So I'd never done anything like this before. It was my first time.
Everything about it is really unique actually. In the way we travel, the way the show's put together, the way the cast and crew kind of work together on the show as well.
I've never worked on a show like this previously.
It is full on. I am exhausted by the end of it. It's not just a little show, it's like a production.
Never worked on a show of this scale where all the performances came with large sets and props and really incredible performances as well.
I've worked on other stage shows and other productions, but never anything that sort of has taken an idea and then, year after year kind of keeps producing a bigger and better version of it.
It's like being in a rock concert. Yeah, so it's definitely a different vibe.
Oh, this is so hard. If I choose one routine, it doesn't mean I don't like the others. There are some I really hate though.
God, the soundtrack is good.
There are so many good songs in the show.
It is so hard. Starships.
Starships, that's the land speeder routine.
I think it's because it is just so upbeat and I'm just about to get on stage.
A majority of the cast are waiting side stage to go on for their act, and we're all just dancing to that song.
I think I like the Imperial Guards the best.
The Imperial Guards.
The Imperial Guards?
The Imperial Guards, I love them.
I really liked Imperial Guards.
So the Imperial Guards routine was lots of fun.
I love Imperials.
The Antwood, which was really fun.
Babies on fire.
The first time I saw that,
just because of how minimal and how sexy it is,
I couldn't close my mouth. It was actually...
And I feel like we did it so many times that I'll remember it forever.
There's no other act like them.
It was a really challenging one, like the helmet that sits on your shoulders, then there's this massive
cape because you get to wish it around.
And then there's the heels that have probably like an 8-inch heel and a platform. All of those things in one.
Babies on fire.
I think Slave Layer's always gonna be my favorite.
Oh, the one show that I got to wear Slave Layer's costume, that was pretty cool.
I've just spent a long time analysing intricacies of my character.
I loved the evolution of Jabba.
Look, I know the new Jabba is really impressive.
Kind of Jim Henson-esque in the beginning.
But I personally think that when it was puppeteered by one of the dancers, it was probably my favourite prop.
And how incredibly epic it is now. It gets more and more hilarious.
The Han and Chewie, it's different every night.
Walking. Oh my god.
Chewbacca and Han solo routine was heaps of fun.
It's just two of us and we get to play around with the choreography. One time I lifted Nevin up, I just threw him on the ground and he had to deal with that during a show.
That Han solo routine was lots of fun as well, coming out of the carbonite and having Leia there and then Greedo.
And I also love Greedo, which is like my least sexy outfit.
And plenty of gags was lots of fun.
That routine is like the best.
That Han Solo blaster, like you can't go past that. The belt, you can get rid of that.
Favourite routine would be the Twillies.
Well, Twilly, it's quite an intimate routine. I think I just have a real connection with the character.
Would definitely be Welcome to the Jungle.
I really like the Boba Fett because the flamethrowers.
Boba Fett, because you get to have fire.
It doesn't get cooler than using a flamethrower, running out in like dry ice while the crowd's going insane.
Mesmerized by the song for the Jedi.
But I didn't get to ever use a lightsaber on stage. I don't think I could handle that level of responsibility.
And because when I'm always hearing it in the green room, so all you can hear is the bass.
Thankfully, every dance that I've seen that's been given the honour of wielding it has been extraordinary. It's just so incredibly hypnotic.
And it's just like dum, 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 dum. We're all in the green room like
Princess Leia.
And the dance hall part of Leia.
Dirty's my favourite number, I think.
Hot, booty slamming, full out dance hall.
She goes the fuck off.
Hair whipping, booty popping.
And I just really like watching her do it.
My favourite costume would probably be Darth Vader.
Favourite costume is Darth Vader.
And the suit itself is so impossible to get on.
It fits like a glove.
Like have to lube your entire body in like a silicone solution and then, step into it and then have somebody help you.
It's the best costume ever.
Getting out of it was like another thing.
I do like the interval music, the Cantina Band, and I learned it on saxophone one day.
Obviously I like the Stormtroopers, that sort of goes without saying.
I think the Stormtroopers have to be the highlight. Also the choreo is cool, man.
Stormtroopers, I don't know what that track is, it's probably from the 90s, it might even be The Prodigy. That was always such a banger.
I just think it's like iconic.
And they're hot, so that's a bonus.
But my favourite costume is my X-Wing fighter because it's a little bit fancy and it's a little bit rock and roll. That's just me all round. Also, it's comfortable.
Favorite prop would be the tauntaun.
I think my favorite song is the tauntaun song. You wouldn't see me, but I'm making sure the tail gets to where it has to be. So I'm always there at the start of the show when the curtain opens and the music starts and the crowd goes wild for the first time. And then that bam, bam, bam.
C3PO is a really incredible costume.
Favourite costume has to be C3PO for myself. Definitely one of the most difficult costumes I've ever had to dance in. Custom built for me. It's my form, it fits my body. High gloss, chrome, gold. You know, who gets that?
But I think my favourite costume is Jawa, because I can go off in it. Yeah, they're pretty cute.
Jawa's a freaking cute man.
My absolute all-time favourite is Gonk. And I mean, I've got him on my shoulders, get to just dance my little feet.
I really like Gonk. It's probably the cheapest prop of the whole show. It's so lovable, but it's two boxes stuck together.
And it's also really lovely to do something and be able to be so goofy in a show that is so sexy.
One of my favourite songs is Wrecking Ball. I think Miley's been underrated. I am part of her demographic. Old white guys are kind of really into her. It's a great song. And look, the act that goes with it is mind-boggling.
The Wrecking Ball moment is incredibly hilarious.
The Emperor. Is that a costume?
It pushes the boundaries of what will make the audience uncomfortable.
I love the Emperor. Shout out to Stu from Bloodhound for creating that thing on me. It's not the most comfortable costume, obviously.
On a mirror ball, giant mirror ball Death Star. We didn't get to test it too much before we actually went on for the first night.
And I'm not dancing very much, so I can see people's reactions to it. That's pretty priceless.
First night, it dropped by about a foot from where it was meant to be on the first swing.
That line of making the audience go, oh, I think I hate this, but I can't look away.
The one thing that will never get old is listening to Drew, our MC. He can talk shit like no one else, and it is so funny.
I'm just about to name all of them in order. All of them. My favourite routine is all of them. Warm up.
The cast do have their own special little thing.
Half hour before the show, before curtains, so everyone's still got time to do makeup.
We will all gather, all the performers in the green room, stand in a big circle. Someone will play a ridiculous song.
It's always played to the Backstreet Boys.
It's usually the Backstreet Boys.
I think we dance to the Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
And we all have to dance through it. So it's like a call and response kind of thing.
Each person in the cast will do a dance and everyone else copies that dance.
We end up just looking like a bunch of maniacs jumping up and down, but
we need that to come together because we're all in separate groups and we're all in separate rooms, like getting ready and getting in the moment.
It's a very serious warm-up.
The best part of doing that warm-up routine is seeing Pete, our lighting designer, get involved.
I'll let you in on a little secret. The dancers, they warm up. But when you're my age, warming up can exhaust you. I just drink a can of Coca-Cola. Oh, favorite.
That's hard.
Favorite venue.
It's called
Warfield in San Francisco with that big poodle dog.
the Warfield.
Warfield in San Fran.
There's such a rich history at the Warfield in San Francisco.
But then when we went back, it wasn't there. But there was a little sausage dog.
The Warfield in San Francisco.
The Warfield in San Fran.
The crowd were on a whole other level there.
Warfield's the bomb, though, and it's just a really cool place.
The PlayStation Theatre in New York.
PlayStation Theatre in Times Square.
It's the PlayStation Theatre in New York City.
And that was a special one because it was May the 4th and we were closing out our American tour.
It was really amazing to be able to do that in the middle of Times Square.
I'm gonna say
The Canberra one because it's super big.
the Canberra Theatre Centre.
Canberra has an amazing theatre, love that theatre.
Is the Canberra audiences are always up for a good time. Not to say other people aren't.
The Animal Theatre in Sydney, Australia, it's just a great rock and roll venue.
The Animal Theatre, yeah, it was kind of more rock star, you know.
I've done a number of shows there and it's always just amazing and so much fun.
I liked the Tivoli because it was really intimate.
Yeah, the theatre at the Ace Hotel, that was insanely stunning, that one.
Nicer when it's a smaller theatre because then I don't have to run as far in my heels to get all my props.
We got the right stuff. We